views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open 2.0. Today we are joined by the New York Botanical Garden. Tobiana represents the Bronx NYBG and is here to talk to us about what the Botanical Garden has been doing throughout the pandemic and what they are doing to educate locals about the importance of gardening and of nature. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Tony. My name is Layla, and my question for you is what your position is at the New York Botanical Garden and what does your role entail?
So I'm the director of the Edible Academy, and so I oversee a 3-acre campus within the Botanical Garden, and we have a variety of program formats here throughout the year, registered programs for school groups and families, drop-in programs, and then, opportunities for service learning. And we also service a few grants. And so we have a program with veterans at the Veterans Affairs Hospital nearby. And so team of staff, full-time and part-time, volunteers that all contribute to, sharing garden-based education. We grow, all sorts of fruits and vegetables and herbs, and explore culinary and sustainability themes as well.
Outside of what you do, can you expand on what exactly the Edible Academy is and what do they do?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's a 3-acre campus, so it includes several different features. We have the garden beds, so dozens and dozens of raised and framed planting beds. Where we grow vegetables. Either we directly plant seeds or we transplant seedlings. And then we have classrooms. We have a classroom building with 2 classrooms. We have a greenhouse, and then a pair of open air pavilions. And so in all of these different spaces, we invite our visitors to help us to plant and take care of the plants that are growing in the garden, harvest and then cook with, what we grow. And so, as I mentioned, we have school groups that come on field trips. We have families that drop in when we have our drop-in gardening hours. And then we have a children's gardening program we've been offering for 65 years. And so, across all these different formats, basically, we invite people to learn about the food that nourishes them, that gives them the energy to run and play and to learn. So.
How long have you worked at the New York Botanical Garden, and why is this work important to you?
So I started working back in 2001 here, and my first job was actually as an intern. We have 3 venues that are dedicated to children's education. One is called the Edible Academy, where I am now. And then we also have the Everett Children's Adventure Garden. And that's an indoor and outdoor space that has programs for school groups and families as well. And they explore and investigate nature. And so they have, some terrific programs there. So I worked there and actually worked with a teen volunteer program called the Explainer program. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. And then our third venue is Green School. And so there's a pair of classrooms that are in our conservatory. Conservatory has several biomes, spaces that have plants that grow in deserts and rainforests. And so we offer a variety of school programs in that space. My first job was actually it was in the Green School, and I taught school groups for a year. And then I spent 3 years at the Adventure Garden working with the teen program, preparing the volunteers to facilitate programs with families there. And then back in 2005, I started to supervise what was called the Ruth Ray Hall Family Garden. And that's what we developed over several years into the Edible Academy, and opened the Edible Academy in 2018. So what was a seasonal venue for which just offered spring, summer, and fall programs became a year-round facility that has doubled our total visitation. We see about 100,000 visitors per year, and in all of those different program formats that I described.
Hi, I'm Melody. What other opportunities does the New York Botanical Garden offer to Bronx youth?
We see lots of school children, mostly elementary school and middle school students, through our school, like our in-school program, field trips. And then beyond that, for teenagers, we have a few opportunities. One, we collaborate with Gear Up through Lehman College. And so we host different cohorts of students. It's a college readiness program. And so they have a couple of cycles throughout the school year, and then on-campus internships typically in the summertime. This past summer we did a virtual internship for that group. I don't actually supervise that program, but they do schedule time for those students to spend some time learning with my team at the Edible Academy here. And then a program I used to supervise and has been, was running before I supervised it and has been running well since. It's called the Explainer Program. And so that's based at the Children's Adventure Garden. And it's an opportunity for teenagers to volunteer. There's a recruitment process. So, there's an application and, interviews. And then those, the explainers have a variety of different enrichment opportunities to learn about plant science, nature, but also public speaking and engaging with the families that come to the programs and help to share their enthusiasm for plants and nature with the impressionable kids. And so it's a great program. Actually, I had a feeling you might ask about this, so I contacted my colleague. She actually supervises that program now, and she was excited to hear that I'd be able to share about youth opportunities. So the next cycle for the Explainer program will be in the spring of 2021, but the recruitment process begins in December. There's going to be a virtual open house on December 12th at 1 p.m. So if you go to the Botanical Garden's website, you go into the education section, and there's some descriptions of the programs we have for kids and teens, and it's called the Explainer Program. So here at the Edible Academy, we additionally have opportunities for teenagers. With the pandemic, I mentioned we have not had any volunteers contributing on campus, and so but during a typical year, several of our volunteers and internships that we host with teenagers. So it's a really fun group to work with, and you have a chance to learn about how to grow plants, the plants that you eat, to learn about the soil they grow in, and some of the different techniques that we employ to grow them sustainably, and then just learn about food systems and where your food comes from, which is very it's been very much magnified, the importance of access to food, with the pandemic and the food emergencies that are, right here in the Bronx County, but also, throughout the country. So.
All right, thank you. I'm William. So I just wanted to ask you why you believe that garden or nature-based education is important, particularly for young people, and maybe particularly even for young people during the pandemic.
Yeah, right. So, I, when I was, a kid and teenager, I was really busy just playing soccer. That was kind of like that was my thing. and so I didn't really pay much attention. I did like going to school, and I liked learning, in particular science. But I guess when I was in college is when I started realizing, how important plants are and how amazing they are. And so I got really interested in learning more about it myself. And then I realized I like to tell other people about it. And so, I'm a little biased, but I do think it's very important. As I mentioned, it's you eat, every day you need to eat. And whether you choose to be a vegetarian or not, plants either directly or indirectly form, the basis for your diet. And so kind of knowing what those are, how they grow, is important. I think it's important in particular in urban areas. I grew up in the city of Rochester, upstate New York, but city blocks and relatively similar to some neighborhoods here in the Bronx, and then here in New York City, much bigger city than Rochester. You're very removed from farming communities, so you might not really see just how much real estate is dedicated to growing the food that we eat. And then so to give that opportunity to kids, especially in an urban setting, I think is important. There's hardly even street trees on many city blocks. It's just sidewalks and buildings and streets. And so I think that's particularly important. But even like an area where I grew up, I had a yard. I didn't really pay attention much to the plants that form my diet. I was just, when my soccer ball landed in somebody's garden, I would try to get it out without getting caught. And so, I don't know, for those reasons, just if it's even beyond youth, it's like adults. We have many adults that drop in here, or come with their children, and they've never seen the broccoli on a broccoli plant. And so there's a lot of aha moments about something that they may eat every day. So, introducing them to that. And then for us, when we have kids actually taking care of the plants, they develop an affinity for the plants. They have this relationship. They put the seed in the ground. They had to wait. They had to take care of it. They had to do a little bit of work. And so they're really excited to harvest it and taste it. So they might not like it, but at least they've, they know how it grows, and they try it. And then, I'm not gonna like make them eat a lot of broccoli, but just, it's really easy for them to try it because they're so happy that they just, grew it. So.
Thank you for that information. Hi, I'm Alfred, and my question for you is, have you been working on the garden grounds recently, or has the pandemic forced you to find a new way of doing your job?
Right. So, back on, I think, March 13th, the Botanical Garden emailed, it was a weekend, I think, and they emailed the entire staff not to return to the campus. And then my supervisor called me, and we had a conversation about if any of the Edible Academy team should be listed as essential. And so the Botanical Garden is big. It's 250 acres, and the Edible Academy is only 3 acres of that. But at that time, we already had 20,000 vegetable seedlings growing in our greenhouse, and we're very soon going to be putting them outdoors, and then had tens of thousands more seedlings on schedule to be started. So we ended up listing myself and one other colleague who lives nearby. Both of us have cars, and so we can drive, kind of isolate ourselves. And so between the two of us, we reported back to campus full time. So I've actually been, aside from a few days off and some weekends, coming every day since March. The rest of our team, our part-time staff, we had to lay off, and then our rest of our full-time team worked remotely. So we had to set up like remote workstations, migrate files, and then come up with some different project strategies for working from home. And then later, as the spring kind of progressed and we learned a little bit more about whether we would be able to resume programming or not, which again, the garden was completely closed to anybody but a few essential workers in various departments until late July. And so we were able to bring a few of our remote team to help with what we ended up doing, which, since we didn't have any programs, we ended up growing produce and donating it. So.
Thank you for your insight. With the pandemic, how have you had to change or modify your programs accordingly?
Yeah, so since we canceled our programs, usually in the past, the plants that we grew, the kids in the programs planted them, took care of them, harvested them. They would either cook with them during a program, they might taste them during a program, or they might put them in their harvest bag and share them with their families. And so, it depends on what program format they participated in. And so with the no programs running, again, we at first started growing the plants to make sure if and when we did reopen, everything was still where it needed to be. I'll just give a quick example, like a tomato plant, we start the seeds in March or early April, and they don't start making, we plant them outdoors at the end of May, and then they start making fruits in July and August and September, and even still now. So if we didn't start them in March, we wouldn't have had any tomato plants. And so if we were going to reopen in July, we wanted to be ready for that. So later we found out we weren't going to be hosting any programs. So what we did was we reached out to some food providers, some places we knew, and we found out we learned of others that were in the, we're in the business of distributing food. And many of them had like a cafeteria at their facility and would serve breakfast and lunch and dinner to whoever wanted it. They started doing takeout meals and to-go pantry operations. And so we discussed delivering our fresh produce to them, and then they would distribute it out. So that was a big shift. We don't usually, the staff doesn't necessarily pick, harvest the vegetables. We let the visitors get the experience of like pulling a carrot out of the ground, or finding, some ripe beans and picking them off the vine. So instead we did that, and we did a lot of it, and we still are continuing to do it now. We've made almost 60 different donations. So each donation we go out and harvest as much as we can that's ripe. And then we actually bag it up. So we kind of sort different crops into paper grocery bags, and then we load those into a van, and then we drop them off at the different facilities. So we've made 60 different trips since early April, and we actually been weighing it. We have like a luggage scale, and we've never been able to really weigh everything because all day long people are picking and kind of going every which way with it. But it's been, we're almost eclipsing 6,000 pounds this week, so 3 tons of food.
Thanks for that insight. I'm Amma, and I wanted to ask, when visitors are going to the garden now, what should they expect, and what are some of the safety precautions?
Oh, that's a good question. So New York State had made a whole plan for phases of reopening. And so the Botanical Garden qualifies as a cultural institution or in the cultural group. And so we were put into phase 4. We have mostly outdoor spaces. And then we have our conservatory and library that are, indoors. And so we were given permission to open in July, late July, and our outdoor areas only. So visitors could, register online, purchase tickets in advance is a requirement. And we have a capacity of how many visitors we're allowed to have during the entire day. And then we try to, issue tickets incrementally throughout the day. And so there's timed entry, space visitation out. So all the outdoor collections are open. Our interpretation team has created signage that encourages visitors to socially distance and wear masks, and we have hand sanitizer dispensers throughout the campus now. We have 3 right here at the Edible Academy, and they're touchless. And then we have Yeah, so all of those areas have been open, and people are really excited to visit again. We have a lot of members and things like that and just regular visitors. The Edible Academy, a portion of our campus we opened to the public, and then most of the campus we kept closed, and then we recently, just a couple of weeks ago, we opened. And we typically invite drop-in visitors to use some tools to dig and water the crops. So we decided to forego that, and then we created actually I don't have one with me right now, but an activity where the visitors get a piece of paper with instructions on how to fold it and create an envelope, and we pass out a seed pod. Like this afternoon, we were passing out fennel, and so it's a seed saving activity. So the family can pick the seeds from the seed pod and then save them and start a garden next year and add fennel to it. Other days we're saving marigolds and beans. So it's a very limited contact. Our staff wear gloves. We disinfect the stations. We only have a few families at a time doing that. And otherwise, encouraging families to walk around. We have like a little one-way circulation pattern. And then we have a seasonal scavenger hunt. So looking for some of the things that either are happening in the fall, what the gardeners are doing, what we're doing to get the garden ready for winter, or what's happening in the garden. What are the plants doing, and what are some of the animals doing? Monarch butterflies are migrating, so we're encouraging visitors to look for them and count how many they see. So those types of activities. The conservatory was just renovated and reopened when we got permission from New York State, and so there's a limited number of entry points, and it's a one-way circulation pattern in the conservatory, and so kind of slowly but surely reopening, and it's been really positive. Everyone's really excited to be out, and the garden is basically like a big park, so people can spread out and just kind of connect with nature.
Thank you. Okay, last couple of questions. Hi, my name is Luke, and my question is, if people want to learn more about the programs you offer, what do you do? How do we get involved? Where should we go?
Good question again, everybody. All of the questions. So we have a website, NYBG.org, and it's a wealth of information. There's visitation tabs. There's all sorts of different kind of announcements there. There are web pages for our volunteer program, including the explainer program that I mentioned before. All of the programs at the Edible Academy, our other children's education spaces are listed as well. So if you can kind of explore the website, you also learn about all the science we do here, and so we have a whole division of scientists that do research here in our laboratories, in our herbarium, and then around the country and the world. So you can learn about what they do. Particularly if you're interested in science, you can learn all about some of the different opportunities that you might be interested in kind of getting yourself involved in post high school and college. And then just come visit, and it's a beautiful place. If it's we have visitors from around the corner and around the world that come to see all the things that our horticulture team does every day, and just sees this spectacular campus. The Bronx River cuts right through the middle of the garden, and then we have this really beautiful forest. I'm like looking out through the office. I can see the forest through a few windows here, but all the trees are starting to change color. So it's we also have, I'm not the most savvy social media user, but we have a social media department. So we have, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and whatever else I'm forgetting. And so definitely make yourself, connect yourself to us, and you'll get all sorts of announcements that way.
Okay, last question. Do you have any advice and tips for youth and for young people during this time?
And no, it's definitely it's unusual for everybody. It's, typically kind of focus on my responsibilities and what I have to do each day. But I've been thinking about other people. So I'm particularly like teens that are like in their last year of high school or college or first year of college, whatever it might be. Some of the kids that we work with in elementary school. We just had a virtual workshop with a group of kindergarten students, and they haven't even been to their school yet, and they're now going on a virtual field trip. And so just remaining positive and using the opportunity to become familiar with these tools, these virtual tools like this meeting. And when things do return to normal, hopefully sooner than later, I think we'll have a whole nother set of tools to support what we do. So just for example, like we're used to working with kids here and giving them a seed and telling them to teaching them how to plant it, and then harvesting and cooking with them. They get to use all sorts of kitchen tools and make some sort of recipe together and taste it. And so we don't get to do that. So we're thinking of all the other things that we can do to make an engaging program. And so if you're on the other side of that, just like take advantage of opportunities that are keep us connected. And otherwise, if there are opportunities to get outdoors with your family or with your friends safely, do it. There's definitely some terrific places throughout this borough here, but throughout the city in the region. Some of them are around the corner, don't require too much traveling. So definitely get out and kind of get familiar with other people, other parts of the city and other people that are dealing with what we're dealing with, and kind of work together.
All right. Thank you, Toby, for joining us today and telling us about the Edible Academy and what the New York Botanical Garden has been doing during the pandemic. This has been very informative, and we'd love to keep up to date with the Botanical Garden and what it's doing, and we'll definitely be checking out your website and social media to spread information. Thank you for joining us today on Open 2.0.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.